Good morning from Memphis. It's 5 minutes to 2 on the morning of July 21st, 2022. And I've got Mars right in the center of the screen, just to the lower left of the moon. I started out with Mars zoomed in so we could get a good view of that, or as good a view as possible, given the lighting, the bright street light nearby. I had to reduce it. There we go. But be that as it may, we've got Mars just to the lower left of the moon, then the moon followed by Jupiter, which is always bright enough to see, and Saturn, which I have to zoom in just a little bit. It's actually visible right now zoomed out because there's not a lot of light around it. So again, I just couldn't help myself. I had to make a quick panoramic video of these four beautiful bright solar system objects. Again, from the south-southwest, Saturn, Jupiter, the moon, and Mars. Because of that very bright streetlight, Mars is hard to see, and it's not nearly as bright as Jupiter. I'm going to move over here just a little bit and try zooming in again, see if we can get a better view of it. There it is, right in the center of the screen. Zoom back out. Today was another hot day down here in Memphis. Upper 90s, but that's nothing new for July in Memphis. An interesting comparison between the moon and Mars. Mars is approximately half the diameter of Earth, 4,000 miles. Earth is 8,000 miles, roughly, actually 7,926 miles, but 8,000. Mars is 4,100, so roughly 4,000. So roughly half the size of Earth, 1/10 the mass. The moon's diameter, 2,160 miles, so about 1/4 that of Earth. So if Mars were placed where the moon is, it would be twice as big. Which would be pretty cool because Mars has an atmosphere, and we could see the atmosphere changing, clouds and different surface markings. But it would also raise considerable tides on the Earth. Mars's gravity is 1/3 the gravity of the Earth, whereas the moon's is 1/6 the gravity of the Earth. So that double the gravitational attraction would it would cause a lot of problems. The tides, more earthquakes, just would not work out very well. So really, for a whole bunch of reasons, the way our moon is, where it's situated, its mass, its size, it's just perfect. It's exactly what we needed for life here on Earth. And I've often talked about how cool it would be to have more than one moon, but that wouldn't work out either. The gravitational interaction would just be too much for the system. So we've got what we need, one moon, just the right size and distance. And hopefully we'll get back there sometime soon. Of course, Mars has 2 moons, much smaller than Earth's moon and much closer to the planet, but nevertheless, if we ever get to Mars, we'll get to see 2 moons in the night sky and the daytime sky, because they're visible in the day as well. An interesting thing about Mars's two moons, their orbital periods. The closer in moon is less than 4,000 miles from the surface and orbits the planet at only 7 hours from west to east. So it actually orbits to the east faster than the planet rotates, so it rises in the west and sets in the east. Very strange. The outer moon is 12,000 miles from Mars and orbits in 72 hours. It's about 3 days it orbits. And also from west to east. So it's a very interesting dynamic of how they rise and set. Of course, since it orbits slower, it still rises in the east. That's the outer moon. Of course, our moon orbits the Earth every 29 days. So that's where we get the term month from, month. Of course, Jupiter has 80 known moons. Probably more. We just haven't discovered them all, but the 4 big ones are the size of Earth's moon or larger. And if we ever venture that far out into the solar system, we'll almost certainly land on at least a couple of them. The outer large moon in particular is outside the radiation belts and would make a very good landing base. That's Callisto. The second farthest out moon, Ganymede, is larger than the planet Mercury and has an atmosphere, so that would help protect us from micrometeorites. And it's also outside of most of the radiation belts. The inner 2 large moons are in the worst of the radiation belts, so we might have a problem, at least with known technology, dealing with that. Although Europa is known to have a subsurface liquid ocean, so there's endless talk about what might be in that ocean. Of course, Saturn, there it is. Had to zoom in just a little bit to get Saturn to come in. Saturn also has 80 known moons, the largest of which, Titan, has a thick atmosphere of hydrocarbons. But at a temperature of minus 290 degrees Fahrenheit at the surface, it would just be bone chilling. I mean, just unimaginably cold. And it's too cold for life as we know it. But nevertheless, life as we don't know it, you know, who's to say? It's got hydrocarbons, organic chemistry, liquid oceans of liquid hydrocarbons, liquid methane. Actually, they're not as big as our oceans. I shouldn't call them oceans. They're more like big lakes. They're like the size of the Great Lakes. Liquid hydrocarbons. So there's no telling what's there. But it's going to be a while before we get there. But we did have a probe there until 2015. So very, very interesting stuff going on in space exploration these days. I find it fascinating. I could go on and on. But this is the early morning hours of July 21st, 2022 in Memphis, and I thank you for watching.